Yud Gimel.
Okay.
Oh.
So now,
So now we
Yud
get into
Gimel,
what's
13.
Malay Lugmav.
Tzarich lishtes mikeshel kiddush kimeloi lugmav. He has to drink from his cup of kiddush the amount of meloi lugmav, which literally means like the filling of his cheeks. The hainu kol yisalkenu litzad echad befiv, and the amount that he will put it into one side of his mouth. The meloi lugmav, and his cheek will be like filled. So what's this amount? It's the majority of a revius. So this will depend on which shear you follow for revius. But it will also be a half and a tiny bit of that is going to be a malay lugmov. Mishna Berura. He's required to drink the imlav lo yotza, and if not, he did not fulfill his obligation. Like the filling of his cheeks, but that you need an important amount that it will settle his mind through this. I guess meaning that like if you're taking a sip of water, a sip of a drink, less than this is like it's not a proper sip.
A feeling of satisfaction.
Yeah,
That's how they translate here. No, I'm letting tell you right now.
The hainu, that this is v'chula, right? That he says the hainu kosher, all that he'll move it into one side of his mouth. The shiur zedai, and this is enough. Afilu im haya hakais. Oh, sorry, I jumped one. Meaning to say, it doesn't mean that his whole mouth will be full. From both sides, because if you look at the literal meaning, if you look at literally melay lugmav,
mouthful.
It literally means filling of his cheeks. Of
right.
his cheeks. So that's why the Mishnah Berura says, why the Mechaber explains it further, that no, melay lugmav means of one cheek.
Right.
Vihu, and this is right. The Mechaber says this is the majority of a revius.
Right.
The sheer zedai, and this amount, is enough. Right? Even if it's a very large cup that has several reviyos, right? Say it's a 20-ounce cup. In order to be yaitza, you need to drink still the same majority of a reviyos.
Right.
Reviyos, the majority of a reviyos. Hainu ba'adam beinani. Meaning this is an average person. This is how much it would be. But a person who is bigger, a guy with a big giant head, a guy with gezunte cheeks like me, it would be a bigger Malay. It would go according to his cheek. But no matter how big of a person, let's say it's a giant person with giant cheeks, that he can fit 7 ounces in one cheek. He doesn't have to. The filling of the cheek goes up till a revius. At any rate, no matter how big the person is, he for sure does not have to drink more than a revius. Which probably explains why we're makbid to drink a revius, because go figure exactly till where the cheek needs to be full for malay lugmav, and how big is my cheek, and how many ounces could I really fill in, till where does it go? So we know that a revius is the most you have to drink. The malay lugmav is the minimum you have to drink. So a revius, if you drank your revius, so for sure you drank malay lugmav no matter how big your cheek is.
Gotcha.
Vida the sheer revius who kemat meloi shtei klipis mebeitza beinanis shaltar negelis, as if this is making it easier to understand. You should know that the amount of a revius is almost for the two average sized chicken eggshells filled, almost that much. Now, I don't think in his time they had those Pepperidge Farm, or what's it called, or something Hallandale Farm, or what's it called?
Dude,
The boxes
gotta
with medium and jumbo and
large and average,
right.
average.
So and by the way, and not just that, but which breed of chicken is he talking about? And
right.
and back then it was different, right? Like for example, even fruits, right? Back in the oldie timey days, a watermelons didn't look like they look today. If you look at paintings from the Renaissance and they have watermelons, they're actually mostly white with just some red around the seeds. And then they were they altered them, they bred them to be
genetically modified.
Yeah, like they are now.
Yeah, just bananas.
Because everybody's still against GMOs. If we didn't have GMOs, oranges would still be bitter and what do you call it? And almost unedible today,
bananas,
like they were back then.
Bananas, huge black seeds.
Yeah, bananas also. A banana, naturally, bananas have big black seeds in them.
Yeah. Okay, so anyways, the contents of two, the volume of two.
That's the amount that it is. I guess for his time, somebody reading it in his times maybe would have understood what.
Yeah. But he's not even finished. Continue. Hold on.
The Leib, who shisha baits him. Well, that's because he's probably quoting somebody else on this, I think, because I'll tell you why. Because by his times they already had standardized measurements, I believe. The Leib who shisha beitzim, that a Leib is 6 beitzim.
Hold on. I think
so. If a Leib is 6 beitzim, so a quarter of a Leib would be a quarter of that.
Hold on. But who's sheer bay? No, you skip the line. It's shtei klippes mi beya bein and So it's two. Right. The volume of 2 klippes without the shell, like you said, the content of the shell.
It's one, but if it's the amount of the volume with the shell, it's 1.5.
The shell is 1.5.
Right.
Stop. It's just.
How do you know that? Because a Leib is 6 eggs, like it says in the Gemara.
Right.
The Gemara says 6 average eggs.
And so a revius
automatically revius. What does a revius mean? Literally, is a quarter, but it's referring to a quarter of a Leib is 1.5 beitz v'chetzi.
Right.
That's Magen Avraham, Pri Megadim, and Chak Yaakov and other achreinim. V'yesh machmirim ma'id bin yashiyurim, and there are those that are very stringent on when it comes to the measurements. V'yichichu da beitzin miskatnu bismanenu the machzis imashayu b'me'gemara, that they say that nowadays our eggs are half the size of what they were in the time of the Gemara. So you can imagine trying to do a tfisa on a chicken back then, trying to hold the chicken.
Even nowadays, you can look up
maybe the chickens are the same size and just their eggs are really big.
You can look at pictures. Depends on the breed. It depends where you are. There's some of these Cornish hens. There's people who
like we said, by fruit.
1 in 1,000. It's just a specific breed. There are guys that all their chickens are like 3 feet tall.
Mm-hmm.
Just depends on where what kind of chicken.
Look, you see, we have even by us, we have. If you look at the difference between a medium egg and a jumbo egg, there's a huge size difference between them. So therefore, you have to double that, meaning it would be 3 eggs in our days rather than an egg and a half. That you also have a kazayis of matzah, which we know a kazayis is half of an egg, half a bayam.
Right.
So this will also be relevant to that, because now
nowadays it has to be 1 egg worth.
Yeah.
The volume of a present day egg, an entire present day egg.
Right. And even that, what do we call an average egg?
Right.
But in either case, it's twice. So it's 2. So it's 3 eggs by us is revius. And similarly by matzah, where you have to eat half of an egg's amount, is a kazayis. So this will also be a relevant thing to know, that you can't go by that really it'll be a full egg of our eggs. In other words, the shear of matzah that you have to eat won't be half an egg, but rather one full egg. And like it's explained in 186, and see what we wrote in Bir Halacha on this concept. The Nachan Lachos to the Vreim in Laila that it is appropriate to how do you say lachos? Like to take their words to lachos is really like chush. It's like to feel. It means it's proper to feel their words. Like I feel you, brother. You know, it's proper to feel their words. But meaning it's proper to follow their words.
I mean, he did like
when it comes to the kiddush of night
to heed their view.
Yeah. Okay, that works. When it comes to the kiddush of night. Right, like as we explained before, that the kiddush of the night is the ikar, is the primary one. In other words, the kiddush of night, we're satisfying which some hold to be even a Torah obligation of Zachar Sema Shabbos Lakache. Remember the Shabbos day, the Shabbos to keep it holy. Whereas the day kiddush, all agree, are a midrabanan. So therefore, at least for the night, you should be very careful with this. And at least he should see that in the first place that the cup should be two eggs worth. At the very least, even though he said it's 3 eggs worth. And the drinking, even though it's a big cup, so it's enough that he should drink at least a full cheek of his own cheek, so that at least he's following that thing, even though really. Meaning, even though we said that Malay Lugmav, it's better to follow that to just drink a Revi'is, because who knows exactly from cheek to cheek, etc., whatever. But in the case that being that a Revi'is is coming out to 3 eggs worth, right? It's coming out to a larger amount. To the very least, he should have like 2 eggs worth in the cup, and he should drink at least the filling of his cheek. Of his own cheek. The shir shamlei lugmav tzarich lishtos bli hefsek harbe ben esayim avida oid, and know furthermore that this measurement of the filling of a cheek has to be drunk without a large pause in between. Dahainu, meaning shelo yishav mitchil ashir ishtena ad seif shti acharena yesif michadei shtiyas revi'is. Which is he shouldn't pause from the beginning of when he drinks until the very end of his drinking, meaning he should drink the entire Malay Lugmav in the amount of time it takes to drink a Revi'is, which basically means in one shot, because if you're going to actually drink a Revi'is, right, which he said is ideal, that really you should drink a whole Revi'is. So
right.
What?
Yeah, but
no, that means you can't. That
is worth. Not everyone drinks all that at one shot.
So it means the amount that usually one would drink a Revi'is in. So it doesn't mean chugging. It means the amount that usually would drink a Revi'is in. Val kolponim, or at the very least, he should not, at the very least, he should not pause a long time enough to eat a pras. Now, how much is a pras?
So I have a note here that basically is the volume of 3 and some say 4 eggs worth.
Okay.
We'll see later in Reish Ches and Mishna Berura Mem Gimel. Talks more about that.
Yeah. Okay. V'im hifsik b'chedei achilas pras. Now.
The one that's plugged into the dining.
Now, what happens if he did pause more than the amount of achilas pras? Av b'di'eved lo yotza. Even b'di'eved. I mean, b'di'eved meaning even after the fact. So the concept of what you're supposed to do in the first place, and then there's okay, but in the end, if you did this, did you make it? So he's saying if you took so in the first place, you shouldn't pause longer than the drinking of Revi'is. At the very least, you have to be careful not to take as long as achilas pras, because if you pass the time of achilas pras of eating this amount of a pras, then even after the fact you are not fulfill your obligation.
Which means what? That you made a bracha levatala and you have to make kiddush again?
Well, if you weren't yaitze,
that's what I'm saying. Like, what does that mean? You're not yaitze.
If you just take another, then
another chug, take another sip. That is
yeah, but now you have a you for sure have a hefsek between the kiddush you made and the drinking of the wine.
So that's what I'm saying. Does that mean that then you're not yaitze kiddush?
That's what it seems
to say. Not yaitze, meaning you're not
yaitze means you're not.
You have to make kiddush again.
Yeah, you did not fulfill your obligation to make kiddush. Absolutely, because not only that, that's what he says before. That he said before. And if not, you did not fulfill kiddush. You didn't do kiddush.
I was thinking about that then too. But
yeah,
like when he says the yatsa all these times, he said a few times now yatsa. It seems to say he's not yatsa kiddush, which means they kiddush again.
Yeah,
but
well,
see, I think later
especially for talking kiddush of night that some are holding is a Torah obligation.
Right,
and you didn't and you weren't the yaitza, so for sure you would have to do it again.
Ellie, mommy's calling you.
As a matter of fact, we can go a step further. If by the kiddush of the day, if he was not sure if he drank it fast enough or not, right? By the kiddush of the day, fine. He can. By the kiddush of the night, even if he has a suffix, because there's a place can hold it's a Torah obligation.
Right.
So by night, even if you weren't sure if you drank it fast enough, it would seem like you would have to make kiddush again because you didn't fulfill an obligation that's possibly a Torah obligation.
Right. You want a few minutes?
This is very important. We have to know the next part. Whiskey.
Yeah. What's it called?
Whiskey.
Yeah. Well, whiskey or. Not just whiskey or brandy or
hard liquors.
Yeah, so you have to be careful. So, see this, and even when you have to be careful when you're drinking hard liquor for kiddush, because then it's more common to how do you say likosher, like to get tripped up on this because it's sharp.
Yeah, to make a mistake. Yeah, because people.
Yeah, because it's sharp. Right. And by the way, that's an interesting thing because you see this.
Yeah,
you see this. People they want to make kiddush. Which by the way, this is completely my opinion, and it comes with a disclaimer that generally I do make kiddush on Yash on Shabbos by day. However, it's not like this Lav Davka is this big thing by Lubavitch or what's it called that like you're a bigger chassid if you make on Yash. It's 100% good. It'll make it on wine, and not only that, it's preferable to make it on wine because sometimes you see. Remember, especially that by us we hold that the shear of kiddush is not relative to the kind of that, meaning the serving size. Some people hold it on whiskey. Right, and it's a fine if your place can hold that way, and that's how they hold your Rav holds or whatever. Then fine, but like for example, they hold that by whiskey. It's different. That a shot glass is a serving size. A revius is a serving size by wine, but by us, where you hold that by yash, no, you have to drink a revius, and that means that lechatchila you should be trying to drink a revius, which is the proper shear of malay lugmav, and you should be drinking it in the amount that it takes to drink a revius. And you see sometimes people will only not only that they'll only take a sip.
Yeah, it's why
and they won't drink the whole malay.
I suddenly become a frat boy when people make kiddush on mashke. I'm like chug, no, like a revius.
Yeah, you got to drink the revius, and you have to drink it in a regular time. So it's actually, in my opinion, if this is something that's hard for you to do, it's fine. But just make kiddush on wine. That you'll be able to drink in the what's it called, and then you want a l'chaim, go have a l'chaim. There's no dafka inyan that you're more that you're less of a chassid for some reason. If you made it, as a matter of fact, adrabah, in some ways there's a certain tzad to dafka make on wine rather than yash also.
Right.
But for sure, if you're not going to drink a whole revius of it, or if you're not going to be able to drink it in a normal time, or you will, but you're going to feel sick after that.
What?
I said, or you will be able to do it, but you feel sick after it. So for crying out loud, make kiddush on wine, and then anyways,
right.
Fine. That is Yud Gimel Yud Dalit. If the guy who made kiddush did not drink it, but somebody else, one of the other meal peoples, one of the other how do you say mesubin? It actually means leaners, literally. Mesubin means recliners.
The way it calls the seated company.
All right, but no, because in the old timey days, right? Like in Persia, for example, and things like that, they used to, and that's why we lean. They used to have like chairs where they would eat and drink like lying down on these eating sort of things. So that's why it's called misubin, or like reclining peoples. But it means the people who are seated for the meal, and so one of them drinks, and of course, obviously, meaning he's drinking the appropriate amount of malay lugmov, right? Then he's fine. Then you're yaitza, which is how we're able to do that by for example in the 9 days and things like this.
The 9 days, right?
Right. That you have a child to drink because so wait a second, you didn't drink malay even though it's Abdullah, but you didn't drink malay lugma. On Shabbos is not an issue because on Shabbos you're allowed to drink wine even in the 9 days.
No, but what am I thinking? There's another. I feel like if it's like Shabbos Yom Kippur, and there's somebody who has to break their fast, and the person doesn't know how to make kiddush on their own or something, I think it's also the same thing. You do the same thing where you can make kiddush and then they drink
right,
it.
and then somebody else could. And by the way, this is a good solution if, for example, you're somewhere and you only have yasht, right? You only have a hard liquor to make kiddush on, and you're not really you're not gonna be able to drink the right amount in the right amount of time, etc. But there's someone else there who can answer amen, and he can do it no problem. So in a sense, it might be better to have him, this person, do it based on this.
The designated drinker.
Yeah.
You know that joke?
However,
we didn't say this in the beginning, but a quick milsa de b'dichusa. So there's this cop. He knows there's always drunk drivers down by Moshe's Kretschmer. So he goes and parks in the parking lot. And he's just waiting. Who's going to be his victim? And he sees everyone starts to come out of the Kretschmer, out of the bar, and he sees there's this one guy, and he's just stumbling over his feet, constantly dropping his keys. And he's like, "This is my guy." And slowly, everyone else starts to leave, but this guy, he's dropping his phone, he's tripping on his face, and he's tripping and dropping. Finally, everyone else is left. There's just this one guy. He finally gets into his car after he tries using his shoe to turn on the engine. Finally gets his key in there, turns on the engine, starts to pull out of this parking spot. Whoop! The lights go. The cop pulls him over. Says, "Step out of the car, sir." He goes, "Is there a problem, officer?" "Yes, sir. Step out of the car. We're going to do a sobriety test." The guy comes out, does all the tests, the nose, does a breathalyzer. The guy's fine. He's totally sober. The officer bewildered. He's like, "I don't understand what happened here." And he says, "You don't understand, officer. I'm the designated drinker."
That's a great one.
So you can have a designated drinker. I'll tell it again later. Okay? Remind me.
That's good.
So fine. So great. So now,
okay.
So he could drink it. Fine. So now,
However, you should know if you're coming up with good ideas now and saying, "Hang on a second. So since I can drink it, right, or he can drink it, so you know what? I got an idea. Why don't we? I'll drink some of it, right, and you'll drink some of it."
Right. If you're drinking, for example, like you said, you're drinking the mashke, and you're drinking like, "This is too much for me." So you pull out your mouth and say, "Mendel, finish this off for me."
All right.
But no,
I'll drink some, and what I can't drink, you'll make up. And not only that, I can't do it myself, and you can't do it yourself.
But together we'll drink a malay lugma of mashke in one shot.
And we'll be what's it called? And now we have it figured out. So you should know that ein shtiyas. The drinking of two people does not combine into one full cheek. So you're half a cheek and this guy's half a cheek does not equal one full cheek.
Right.
However, despite this, that we said that the person who makes kiddush didn't have it in somebody else, etc., etc., still, it's the best way to do the mitzvah. Sheitamu kulam, that everybody should have a taste of it.
Yeah.
That everybody should have at least a taste. And some say, if amongst everybody, they drank the amount of milay lugmav. Yatsu, they were yaitz, they fulfilled the obligation. That yes, you can combine various people and into one full shear. However, the Ge'onim held that if the one making kiddush did not taste, now again, it doesn't, meaning even if he didn't have a full cheek, right? We already said there's two opinions. One opinion is that you can combine people, and the other one is you cannot combine people. But even according to the opinion that you can combine people, the person making kiddush has to have at least had some. That the Ge'onim held that otherwise he was not. He didn't fulfill the obligation. And not only that, if he didn't fulfill the obligation, then how could you say anybody else fulfilled their obligation? I would imagine. And it is. How did you say it was? And it's good to listen to them. What was the term?
Heed their words.
It's fitting to heed their words. Yeah. V'davke b'kiddush. This is specifically when we're talking about kiddush. Avol b'sha'ar devarim hatu'unim kais. Moedim ha'ge'onim desagi b'ti'imas acher. So when it comes to something that other things like say benching on a cup or something like this, or perhaps things like sheva brachas and things and those kind of things, or havdalah, right? Like you're saying before, right? So wait a second. If he has to taste some, so how do you do havdalah and give it to the kid to drink? Because that's not kiddush. That the guy making the kiddush has to taste at least some, or he's not even yaitza. That is specifically kiddush, but other things that require a cup is not. We don't say this by that it's okay if somebody else drinks it.
It is sufficient.
Yeah. Mishna Berura, Yudalit, one of the people, we said that it's okay if other people had the full shir, the Kevin Shamasubim Shamud Mitchilas Abracha, since those who are present and meaning and are being yaitze, they heard from the beginning the bracha. Well, who Kivin Aleim Lahitzi, and he had in mind to fulfill their obligation. Mahaniti Masam Kulam. So according to everybody, it helps. In other words, the fact that they're tasting it helps. However, if somebody else drank it who did not have in mind to fulfill his obligation, and he didn't have in mind to fulfill their obligation, and this other person makes a bracha from new, right? Meaning he takes the same cup and makes or whatever, or makes another kiddush and then drinks from both cups, however it is. It sounds like they're like this guy's kiddush who did not taste from it is no good, and then by extension anybody who heard his kiddush is no good. And the halacha will be the same as if you spilled the cup out before drinking it. So later on there'll be discussion of what do you do in that case, and this is the same thing. It's like you spilled it out. Now what do you do? The ancient where are we going? That it doesn't combine. That that he needs to have the Milay Lugma, the cheekful himself, or one of the people who are there by the meal, who answer to him. Shir Hana, they have to have the amount of having pleasure. That will settle his mind, meaning that he was satisfied.
Amount is Malay Lugma.
Yeah.
An amount makes you enjoy,
which is Malay Lugma, meaning so therefore you can't split it, because since the whole thing behind the cheekful is that it has to be enough to satisfy you, but you can't combine your satisfaction. You're half satisfied and he's half satisfied, and one of you gotta be satisfied.
Which means if anyone ever pours you a drink that's less than a revius, you can tell them, no, how am I supposed to enjoy this?
Right. By the way, that's why in a marriage, right? That's why in a marriage, people say, "Oh, you compromise." No, I think usually it's a better piece of advice. Just whatever. So you won't like it, but make your wife happy, because you have satisfied and her have satisfied is nobody satisfied. So like this, whatever, you did what you wanted. At least one person satisfied, walking away satisfied. And then you were yaitza. If you're half satisfied and she's half satisfied, you weren't yaitza.
Okay.
Yeah. So then we said that it's the best way to do it is that everybody should taste a little bit. In this case, he's talking about just tasting. But only one person, like you said before, it could be the guy who made the kiddush, or it could be one other person that has to have had the shear of the full cheek. Everybody else, when we're saying they need to taste it, it doesn't mean they have to taste a full cheek, just so they taste a small amount. Because of Magen Avram, and Magen Avram said the Mishiyesh the Yain Ma'at, that somebody who has a little bit of wine, mutav sheyitem echad kashir v'amesubin la'yitmu klo. That if you don't have enough to both do one cheekful plus everybody tasting it, it's more important that the one person has the cheekful, right? Like we said, and which is makes sense, because we said if one person didn't have the cheekful, nobody's yetza. Whereas in terms of everybody tasting it, it's just a mitzvah and a muvchar. It's just the ideal way to do the mitzvah. But if they didn't taste it, everybody's still they still fulfill their mitzvah.
Right.
So in such a case, it's better that one person should have the proper measurement and that the other people won't have any at all. So that, right, because you don't have so much wine, and if you're going to pour all this wine, you're not going to have left for kiddush or avdallah following that. So better that just the one person then drink the shir. And then we said that some say that as long that you can combine them, that as long as amongst everybody there was a full cheek. Hainu b'di'evet. This is b'di'evet. This is after the fact. But in the first place, the kuli al matzarach shitam hamakadosh b'kashir. In the first place, according to everybody, you need the proper way to do it is that it should be a full cheek, and the proper way to do it is that it should be the person who's making the kiddush should be the one that's drinking that full cheek. Now, when you have, for example, like we said before, by Tisha B'Av and these kind of things, fine, that's a b'di'evet situation. You can't drink it. So now, since you can't drink it, it's like a b'di'evet. So you have the kid drink it. But in general, as well as that's havdalah and not kiddush. Whereas this we're talking, like we said before, is specifically by kiddush. Lachush the Divreihem, and this is that the Ge'onim said that if the person who made kiddush didn't taste any at all, they didn't fulfill the obligation, and you should and this we should be careful about. This is in the first place to be careful of it. But after the fact, right? If it happened, or whatever, but the Evid, many of the achreinim they agreed that even if everybody drank a little bit, it combines. However, even though you're combining everybody's, wow, Yehuda Leib, you look so pretty. Even though you're combining the drink, however, the fact that the cheekful has to be drunk in a certain amount of time, this requirement does not go away. So if you're combining everybody tasting it into one shakeful, they have to have done it within this amount of eating a pras, which is the absolute most longest time that you have to drink the shear. That otherwise you're not yaitze. So in this case, in this b'diavad, in this after the fact case that you're combining everybody, it only would work. Everybody has to drink it within the maximum time that's allotted. And this is specifically by Kiddush. That this is a Torah obligation, right? It's a Torah obligation because, like we say, that there's an asmachta from the pasuk, right? We're relying on the pasuk, which says to make kiddush on wine. Well, even though the wine part, like we said, is midrabanan, but it's still connected to the part of zechira, of the mentioning of it and the remembrance of it. So that is Yudalid. Let's see where this simon goes to. Okay. Tesvav. Kiddush v'keidim shatam hifsik b'dibur. If somebody makes kiddush, and before he had a chance to drink from the kiddush, he made an interruption with speaking. Chayzer umevarech bayir priyagafen. He has to make a bayir priyagafen, the bracha on the wine or the grape juice again. However, but he does not have to go back and make the kiddush part again. And like we mentioned, like we were talking about before, where he points us to this, that what happens if you interrupted and then you so you delay. This was what you were. This actually goes to what you were saying. Because, this goes to what you were saying. Because he said that if you didn't do it right, if you didn't do this properly, you're not the yaitza, and it's as if you spilled out the wine, right? So here he says, So actually, you would not make kiddush again. You would have to go and make another bayir priyagafen again. So you make kiddush, right? And then the people tasted it, whatever it is, and the guy who made kiddush didn't taste it, right? Or alternatively, the people who drank it, they didn't drink it in the right amount of time. So it says you weren't yaitza. You're not the yaitza on kiddush. So what do you have to do? So here he says it will be the same like here. If you pour the cup of wine out, if it got spilled before you tasted it, or if you made a interruption talking between the kiddush and drinking, so you would not make kiddush again. You would make a bayir priyagafen again and then drink wine again. Right, so shit mimenu yavi case acher. You bring another cup. But you do not have to go and make the bracha of kiddush again. The bracha of mekadesh Shabbos. Mishna Berura. Hifsik b'dibur hifsik b'dvaram sheyachim l'seuda v'cholshkem b'dvaram sheyachim l'kiddush. However, if the interruption, so he made kiddush, you're not supposed to make any interruption between kiddush and drinking the wine. However, and if you do, you have to make another. You have to make the bayir priyagafen again. However, if your interruption was something that had to do with the meal, or certainly if it was something that had to do with kiddush itself, you do not have to make the bayir priyagafen again. Just go ahead and drink the wine. Even though this is not the right way to do it, it's not the best way to do it. But if it happened, and then, I spoke in between. If you were speaking something that has to do with the seuda, with the meal, and how much more so something that has to do with kiddush itself, then you do not go back, but rather just drink the wine. Doesn't have to go back and make the kiddush bracha. The hefsek einay migoreya elabichas baby gofen, that the interruption does not mess up besides for the bracha on the wine. Mipnei shesa bein bracha letima, because he's speaking between the bracha and the tasting. Aval kiddush kvar yatsa, but the kiddush he already fulfilled his obligation. Shahaya al ala case kadin, that it was on the cup as is appropriate. Vishtana atacher bracha. So now after he makes another beipeh agafen, so he'll drink it. O mevarich alav, and he makes a beipeh agafen. Dal oisya kaisla yahaya dayet mitchila. That he has to bring us a different cup, because otherwise he already made a because he already made his first cup. He already made which is funny because he didn't taste it actually. But here's interesting, because he didn't taste from it at all, but it's almost like he made a pugum or something. So he has to bring a new cup that he didn't have in mind. I guess because otherwise it could be a bracha levatala, because he already made a hagafen. So it could be a bracha in vain. So therefore, he has to bring a new cup that he did not have in mind before. However, if he had in mind before, but when he was making the bracha, right, to drink more wine, that he's going to drink more wine after Kiddush, then he does not make a hagafen. I'll used to take if case acher b'lei bracha, but rather he should just drink another cup right away without a bracha. Unless he mamish made an interruption that has nothing to do with Kiddush, and I guess nothing to do with the meal, then in that case he would have to. So he doesn't have to go back and say the Kiddush part. The that since he in the first place he made Kiddush on the wine as is necessary according to halacha, and he also tasted it the right amount, right? Even though he's tasting a different cup, he's fine. He's yaitza. But only specifically if he did not remove his mind from it, he did not lose his concentration on it in between. But like for example, if he already in the meantime left the place where he was standing or sitting, before he tastes from the second cup, then he has to actually go back and make Kiddush also. The Peskim wrote him Kiddush ala case if somebody makes Kiddush on a cup and he thought that it's wine, and he realizes it's vinegar or water, he should take another cup of wine. In that case, he should take another cup of wine, and he should make a hagafen, and he should also make Kiddush again. Why? The kaven that being that he was not holding wine, so that's a difference between this case of if he made an interruption. Because in the case that you made an interruption, when you were making the Kiddush, you were holding a cup of wine. Even if you went and drank another cup of wine, had to drink another cup of wine after for the hagafen part. However, if you didn't have something appropriate to make Kiddush on, you had water or vinegar in your cup, then your Kiddush wasn't good in the first place, and you would have to actually make the Kiddush again as well, because you did not make Kiddush on wine. The Kiddush on case closed. It turns out he didn't make a Kiddush at all in a cup of wine. However, if at the time of making Kiddush he had in mind not just to drink this cup, but to drink another cup, which is pretty standard, because generally, in order to absolve oneself, at least our minhag is in order to absolve oneself from having to make a bracha achreno after, being that the Kiddush is before the Seudah, there's a question: do you have to make a bracha achreno? Do you have to make an after bracha on it? So, in order to absolve oneself, what we do is we have in mind to drink more wine, and then we drink more wine during the Seudah itself, and thus we combine it to the Seudah. So generally speaking, those who follow that minhag, anyways, it wouldn't be an issue, because you had it in mind to drink more wine later. So ain't tzarich levarich shenis beir piagafen. You don't even have to make another beir piagafen. However, rak lekadish. However, kiddush he will have to make again. Why? Again, because when he was making the bracha on wine, he didn't have in mind only this specific cup of wine. He had in mind any wine. So therefore, when he goes to drink the wine again, he won't have to make a hagafen. However, his kiddush was still not a good kiddush. He was holding a cup of vinegar in his hands. Right? He was holding a Cabernet Sauvignon. It had vinegar. No, that's an okay vinegar to make kiddush on. Irak lekadish, so he only has to do this. However, if he realized, right, he made kiddush, right, he made beir, he's holding a cup, he made beir priagafen. By the way, this is actually an important one because I've seen people do this. I've seen people in the day, right, make kiddush on mashke and make a beir priagafen, and vice versa. I've seen people make kiddush on wine and say a shahakel. So in that case, you do not go back and make kiddush again, because since you had wine or something that you could or chamar medina, right, or an important drink. So what you would do is you wouldn't go back and say kiddush again. You would only go and say the bracha that you didn't say. So let's say I'm holding a cup of whiskey, and I say beir priagafen, and then I say what's it called? Then I say and then I say what do you call it? The kiddush. In this case, I would just make the shahakel and drink it, even though usually you wouldn't make kiddush on that at night. We're generally more makbid to make kiddush on wine specifically, but still in this case. You made kiddush, so now you also don't want to make a bracha in vain. So even if it's not the best way to do it, but you can't. But if technically you fulfilled the obligation of kiddush, now you're going to go make the kiddush bracha again. You just said a bracha in vain. So even though that wasn't the ideal way to make it, was the ideal way to make it on wine. But if you realize that you're holding a cup of whiskey, just make a shahakel and drink the shahakel, and you're good, because technically your kiddush was good. And technically, and okay, so the only problem is you made a hagafen and there was no wine. So rather than drink another wine, since you already made it, make the shahakel and drink. Are you saying something? I think you're muted.
I forgot I'm still muted.
It looks fun though.
What happens if something like this? I think we covered this before. What happens though if he says Hamaitzi lechem in haaretz by accident and he hasn't washed? I think we mentioned this a couple sifim ago.
Well, I mean, in this case, the bread is covered though, so it's not even really what's it called? No, right, we were talking about something else. We were talking about what happens if you washed.
No. We talked about washing. Yeah, I'm saying the reverse. He didn't wash. He has the cup of yayin in his hand.
Yeah,
there's the guff in his hand. But he's tired, and by accident he says, well,
here's the thing. If he's that tired, did he actually have in mind the challah? Or was he thinking about the wine that he was holding? That would make a difference. Because if you didn't have in mind the challah, it doesn't help you.
Either way, it's still a bracha lebatala.
Fine, but it happened.
I'm saying, so
it's fine, it's a bracha lebatala, but a bracha lebatala by accident, what are you going to do?
You're saying there's still no way to save from the bracha lebatala. He's still, because he didn't wash, and because he didn't have in mind the challah, he still needs to.
I mean, that's what I would think, because you didn't. You're right. You didn't wash. You didn't. What's it called? You're gonna. So what? You're gonna. So you're gonna stop yourself from bracha levatala by eating bread that you didn't have in mind and you didn't wash for. But I don't know. I'm not claiming to know the answer to that. That's just like if I had to guess. Based on this, I would say make what do you call it? Hello. I would say make a thing.
Okay.
See, by the way, we can make this year more kid friendly too. See, 1 second. I'll make it more kid friendly here. What does it? So Rabbi Welton, so like, what would you do if you had a piece of holly and then you wanted to eat the piece of holly, but you made a borei pri mizonos instead by accident? Oh, what would you do then? Oh, hi there. So, you see, that's the problem with this channel. Anything we do on here becomes Gesundheit Hate Street.
Exactly. All streets lead to Gesundheit Hate Street.
They all lead to the same place, right? So why the Hadid Tzarich L'Kadishain is that you have to make up another Kiddush. This is specifically that there's no wine set before him. Right? If it's on the set and it's on the table or on the bench in the time he made Kiddush, and he had in mind to drink from it, he also doesn't have to make Kiddush again. Because it's as if he made Kiddush on all the wine that was sitting before him. The Yishta may take it from a lugmav, and he should right away drink a cheekful amount, as we said before, what the ideal and as well as b'diavad cheekfuls are. And some say more. The hu adin im ein yain lefanov, that this is also the if he has no wine in front of him, v'haya hapas munach lefanov ala shulchan. But he had bread. Now he's actually talking. He's going in your direction. That some say if he has no wine, but he has the bread, the challah in front of him, ein tzarich lekadish michadish. He does not have to make a bracha again. Ela yivtza take up achar kiddush ala pas. Die bevirich zamaytzi levad, and he should just make a birch zamaytzi. Venira the imkidish kaidmin. Imamish talks about we were the question that we were talking about there. Venira the imkidish kaidmin tells you daim kim again hayim ain't shaykh leimar the chol hakidish ala pas. So that's what he says. So his answer is that if you have bread in front of you and you did not have wine, so can you say the kiddush was on the bread? So he says that technically yes. However, if you do like our minhag today, that we don't wash before kiddush, right? Because you remember before we spoke about there was different minhagim. One minhag was you wash and then make kiddush and then make hamaitzi, right? So to which I don't know if anybody does that still today. But according to anybody who would do that, then yes, you would just go ahead and make a hamaitzi and you were good. However, nowadays that you didn't make a tilas yadayim, he says that your kiddush on the bread was no good anyway, and it doesn't count. Uli kaddish, and so you don't have to go back and make kiddush. Magen Avram says in kiddush shachris al sheikha v'nishpacha kais. If you made kiddush on non-wine, on other drinks that you can make kiddush on, and the cup spilled, he doesn't have to bring another one. That some say that it's enough and what you make hametzi on the bread. Rabbi Akiva Eger does not agree with this. So Rabbi Akiva Eger says that no, you would even if it's not yain, if it's something else, you would still have to do the same thing. And this no, it's almost done. You know what? We were very short. I think let's finish we're almost at the end of this siman. So let's finish this siman. And then we will, and that way, the next time we will continue in doing Reish Ayin Aleph in the Alter Rebbe, in Shulchan Aruch Harav. So Tezayin. Those that are right, we said that even according to the opinions that the one making kiddush does not have to drink a full cheekful, right? As long as somebody's drinking a cheekful, right? But he has to, at the very least, he does have to taste something by kiddush. So those other people who are there by the meal should not taste it before the one making kiddush. If they need his cup, that they need his cup to pour from it to other cups in their hands that are empty, or that they have, for example, a pogum wine in their hands and they have to pour from that into their one. But if they are holding fresh cups of wine that are not pogum, that were not drink from, that nobody drank from, in that case, they can drink before the one who makes kiddush. Mishna Berura, even that they had their own cups. Meaning that they took that he already took a sip from it before kiddush, so now it's pogum, right? So in order to make it not pogum, so they would want to pour from the wine of the kiddush. And the sif after this explains that when the cups of the other people are pogum, mitzvah then the person who made kiddush should pour a little bit from his cup into their cup. But that this fixes their cup, that it shouldn't be missing. And since they need his cup, they need to wait that he should drink from it first, and then he will put in their cups. Yud Zayin last if in this siman ein tzarich lishbeis mikeis hamakadosh techeses yain shlofnei hamesubim elo im kein hayipagomim. You do not have to pour from the guy who made kiddush into everybody else's cup, unless their cups were pogum, unless they drank from it first. She'az tzarich lishbeis to call ches v'ches, then you would have to pour into every single cup. Kadei she'used to kula mikeis she'in pogum, so that everybody should be able to drink from a cup that's not missing, right? Like we said before, however, if everybody has a fresh cup that nobody drank from, then he does not have to. Mishna Berura, meaning before that, then he has to pour. Why? Because if he drinks first, I guess if he drinks first and then pours them, it's going to be pogum.
Yeah, Mastama.
Today she's to kulam, so everybody will drink. Even though, like we said, that everybody's still yaitze, even if they didn't drink. If you dalid, like we said before, you dalid. However, in the first place, the best way to do it is everybody should drink from a cup which is not pogum. Interestingly, many today don't have that minhag. So I guess we'll see where that comes from. Maybe it explains the notes on the Alpha when we get to that. But generally, when we make kiddush, the one who makes kiddush drinks and then pours for the other people. So it's pogum. So according to this, wait a second. How can it be pouring for other people?
I will say I have seen people who do that, and it wasn't just COVID that people did that. I've seen it around.
No, I know. I've seen it in shuls, right? I've seen it in shuls. Now, I don't mean because it's inconvenient by Chabad shul, because I've seen in Chabad shuls that people specifically get sometimes they specifically get kiddush from the wine of the guy who made kiddush. But I've seen in other shuls that lechatchila their minhag is that they have little shot glasses full of grape juice. Yeah, and the one guy makes kiddush, he does not pour for anybody else kiddush. Right. And yeah, not COVID, before COVID.
That's even something else.
And everybody else then drinks the wine that's not pogum.
What I'm saying is I've seen a lot of places where the guy will make kiddush, he'll sit down, he'll pour like half of it into another cup, and then he'll drink from his cup. And
yeah, I've seen that.
Cup will be the one that then they add to, so you're still drinking from the guy who made kiddus's cup.
No, but it doesn't make a difference. By the way, so what's even if there's other cups, it's according to the Mishna Berura, it's fine if there's other cups as long as they're not pogum. So and I've seen the shuls that have this. Everybody takes their own cup. The guy who makes kiddush does not pour for anybody. He drinks himself, and then everybody has their own non-pogum cup. Anyway, so these are likely various variations on how the contemporary poskim carry this forward and how they hold And based on this, the different shuls in different communities have different minhagim.
Different fakes.
That is the end of 271 with the Mishna Berura. And the Mitzvah Hashem, the next time we will do the same siman over from Shulchan Aruch Harav, from the Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch, which those who follow the Chabad minhagim. So that'll be that's closer again for final psak. Ask your local rabbi whether you're Chabad or not, but that will be more in tune with what we do in Chabad actually. Yeah.
Have a wonderful Shabbos.
Yeah,
and hopefully we'll see you
Shabbos.
Matzah Shabbos for a quick, maybe half an hour.
Yeah, possibly. If we can stick it in, we'll get Matzah Shabbos. If not, Sunday morning.
We'll see. Stay tuned.
We'll play it by ear and be in touch. Mitzvah Hashem. Probably depends on how much yash people drink for Kiddush and Shabbos. But luckily, there's a long Shabbos to sleep it off also, so shouldn't be a problem.
All right.